What's up, y'all? Remy TV back again with another video, back again with another reaction. Today, we're going to be talking about the Trevor Bauer situation. It's absolutely mind-boggling. It's insane. What the heck is going on? So do me a favor, first time on the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below. Let me know exactly how you feel about what you see. Make sure you also like that channel. Let's go.
Yesterday, we discussed the conclusion of former Major League Baseball player Trevor Bauer's lawsuit stemming from an alleged sexual assault and Bauer's recent video in which he released his side of the story with receipts. Joining me now to discuss that is Bauer's accuser herself, Lindsey Hill. Lindsey, I mentioned Bauer's video in which he provided some receipts that, I'm going to be honest with you, make you look like a clout chaser, or I know some people are calling you a cleat chaser because admittedly you were chasing after several high-profile, wealthy baseball players. Trevor says everything was completely consensual. He also released these text messages that came out in court indicating that you had planned the whole thing out. So I want to read some of these texts from you to a friend between the two of you before you met Trevor, this one. Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. Okay. Victim is an interesting choice of words. I'm going to allow you a chance to explain yourself. But after you agreed to meet, you asked your friend what you should steal. Your friend answered his money. He says, another one from you to a friend, I'm going to his house Wednesday. I already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. With a screenshot in which you told him, tryouts don't scare me, Bauer. Pick a day and I am there. Here are some more after you and Trevor met up. Net worth is $51 million, to which your friend responds, bitch, you better secure that bag. Your text, need daddy to choke me out, being an absolute whore to try to get in on his $51 million. You say this wasn't a setup. How can you expect anyone to believe that?
What?
That's a great question. I really appreciate you having.
That's a great question. I really appreciate you.
On to even have this conversation. Obviously, there's a lot going on around this, so I really appreciate people who are asking questions about it.
Get to the point.
The first thing I want to say is, I think that Trevor did this intentionally with the text messages and how he framed this video. There's several things in it that are not correct. And I just want to start out by saying, it's so valid for people to question those text messages. But the root of the problem here is that he is presenting this as one conversation, when in reality he had thousands of messages to choose from, took those, made it look sequential, which it was not. There is no combined screen.
Here's the thing. I don't care how many text messages we're looking at. If we're looking at those, what you said in that text message we just heard and saw, you set him up. You said secure the bag. You said net worth $51 million. You said I'm going to act like a complete whore. I need daddy to choke me out. You said that. How is that out of context? You said that. It sounds like a setup. It sounds like you were aiming to set the dude up.
Of those things going on one after the other. And as I said last night as well, there's no text message that ever exists. Otherwise he would have, put it out there, combining, anything about a setup through rough sex, finances all in one. Those were handpicked, and they were from multiple different conversations all before we met up. And I think that the video in general doesn't even talk about what actually happened between us two, which is what would have come out during a jury trial. These were all messages that happened before. And then, of course, the video is so valid as well for people to ask questions about. But I do think that video was entirely misleading. He also references the restraining order hearing, which people also have questions about. He says that he was cleared of any wrongdoing, which is actually incorrect. In our civil case, the judge had actually ruled that he had not been cleared of any wrongdoing, and that was a federal court judge. So
I want to get to the domestic violence restraining order hearing as well, but I mean, so you're saying that it's misleading because you're admitting that you did talk about rough sex and wanting rough sex. You did talk about him needing to choke you out. You did talk about stealing his money, but it's misleading because he put them together in the same video as if you had said it in the same conversation when in fact it was separate conversations, correct? That's why it's misleading?
Correct. And as well as not showing, the messages that occurred after where it discusses it strictly in the term of, being a baseball wife or something like that.
What? Or something like that. Okay. I'm just curious if you know, like, the statistical likelihood of you texting your friend premeditated texts saying you wanted him to choke you out and steal his money, take his money, and him actually choking you out, and those two things not being related.
It's a really, really valid question. And like I said, I think you would.
It's a really, really valid question. Why do you keep saying that?
Look through each conversation. Those were handpicked. But I can, like I said last night, completely own the fact that those were overly sarcastic, overly inappropriate to some may seem. And it does give off that impression about clout chaser and totally attention-seeking behavior. But I just feel that they have, nothing to do with what actually took place. But it does cause a lot of questions as to why I was, seeking Trevor out. But at the end of the day, there was nothing about a setup with violence and all of this stuff and getting financial gain. It was strictly, a 25 or however old I was at the time, girl trying to get attention from those things and phrasing it in a sarcastic way before we met.
Okay, so I've
trying to get attention. What? What about saying next victim, LA Dodgers, 51 million? What about that is attention seeking? That sounds like a setup to me. What does it sound like to you? Sounds like, this is who I'm going after. Secure the bag. That's what it sounds like.
A couple other questions on that. So you said in court that he sexually assaulted you on 2 different encounters, and you say the first time that you say he choked you unconscious. Clearly, the insinuation is you didn't like it because now you're calling it an assault. But why did you make the drive back to L.A. to meet back up with him a second time if this man had just assaulted you by your own account?
I think that's a really good question, how I phrased it and how.
I think that's a really good question. You think?
In the past is that I was so embarrassed by the first encounter that I felt something, deep in me to go and take the power back and to be better and to be what he wanted in a sense. And so I don't know. There's been a lot of, through all the processes, witness experts on the psychology of what happens when you are assaulted, XYZ. But there was something in me that felt like I needed to make it better in a sense. Okay. But you texted Trevor before you met him, telling him you liked rough sex. Then you texted him after your first sexual encounter with him, which you now call an assault. And according to court records, you told him after that sexual encounter that you had, quote, never been more turned on in your life. That's not really something that someone says when they were just assaulted. I think it's a super valid question. Everything you're asking me is a super valid question. I agree. That's why I'm asking them. Totally. And I think that I'm not, that's what expert witnesses are for in court in terms of the psychology behind that in responses to abuse and things like that. But like I said, I was just trying to make myself feel better about myself after what had happened the first time. After the first time I left without any markings on my body, my face was fine. I could go to work. And I thought that the second time, would be like the first time minus the things I told him I was not comfortable with. Yeah. So you mentioned the markings on your body. I want to play a portion of his video in which he plays I would say, interesting video of you in his bed. Watch.
In August of 2021, Lindsey Hill's claims were heard in court. And during those legal proceedings, critical information was deliberately and unlawfully concealed from me and my legal team. Information like this video, which was taken by Lindsey Hill herself the morning after she claimed she was brutally attacked, emotionally traumatized, and desperate to get away from me. And now we have the metadata, so there can be no dispute. It was taken mere minutes before she left my house on the morning of May 16th, 2021, without my knowledge or consent, of course. In it, you can see her lying in bed next to me while I'm sleeping, smirking at the camera without a care in the world, or any marks on her face. I think it paints a pretty clear picture of what actually happened the evening of May 15th and why the video was originally concealed from us.
Lindsey, I think there are a lot of sexual assault survivors who would say you don't look traumatized there and you don't look beaten. And this is allegedly after you say that he brutally attacked you and you had bruises all over your body. You had bruises all over your face. I don't see any bruises there. And I certainly don't see a woman who's just been traumatized by something horrible.
Again, super valid. I think that I woke up that morning, and the best way to explain that video is I hadn't seen my entire body yet. I had no idea what had happened, considering, I was unconscious for most of it. I had no idea what had happened to my full body.
But if it was that severe, wouldn't you already feel pain? Wouldn't you already have bruises on your face? I mean, you say that he punched you in the face, but where are the bruises?
Bruh, listen, man. Listen. She is what's wrong with what's going on right now in this country. And this is sad because the sad thing is she's basically making it worse for the women that actually go through stuff like this. Because now with people like her and Amber Heard, you're making it worse for women that are actually being assaulted out there. Because now people hear these stories and they say, it doesn't sound that real, because of people like you ruined. This dude was like, what, 29, 30 years old at the time. He was one of the best pitchers in the world. He was about to sign a contract worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He got suspended by the MLB, Major League Baseball, for like 324 games. This dude in his prime had to uproot himself from the best baseball league in the world, where he was one of the best players in the world, to go and play in Japan because you decided that you wanted to go out there and chase a bag. So you ruined his life. Now when people hear stuff like this, they're going to remember, oh, this sounds like that Lindsey Hill situation, even though it might actually be a real situation. So let me ask you guys this, because if Trevor Bauer was found guilty, rightfully so, he should serve time. Justice should be served. Yes or no? He should be, if he was guilty, he should go to jail. He should serve the time that he needs to serve. Whatever the consequences that he needs to serve, whatever those consequences are, he needs to go ahead and, if he was guilty, he would go ahead and do that. Now, Lindsey Hill is out here on this press tour, going from interview to interview to interview, after we all know, based off the evidence that's come out, that this lady was setting this dude up. Nothing's happening to her. Nothing. She's not going to jail. She's not losing any money. As a matter of fact, she's more popular now. All right. Now a lot of people know who she is. Now she's got that clout, even though it's negative, because now when we look at her, we know who she really, really is. It's negative, but she won. I think she got like $300,000 from an insurance company. $300,000 for what? She got $300,000, but she ruined this dude's life, but nothing's happening to her. How come she's not? Is she going to go to jail? Well, how come? See, people like this, when stuff like this, here's my opinion. When stuff like this happens, women like this need to go to jail, because they need to set a precedence of, if you falsely accuse somebody and we find out that you falsely accuse this man and you ruin this man's life, you should go to jail. Same thing. If the man assaults you, sexually assaults you, physically assaults you, the man should go to jail, no questions asked. But if the woman is lying, my opinion, she should be in jail. She should be in jail. She should serve time for a couple years. And listen, it's disgusting to me when I watch this. It's disgusting to me when I watching Amber Heard. Amber Heard, let's not even get started with her. But anyways, she only has to pay like $7 million. Johnny Depp got dropped by Disney. He had a $300 million contract with Disney, ruined his life, but nothing's happening to them. Some BS, man.